Okay, Nikunj also caught up with Howard Marks on the sidelines of the CFA India conference, speaking about global liquidity, India as an investment destination, and a lot more. Here's an excerpt of that exclusive conversation.
I think that India has great potential. It has enormous resources, especially human resources. It has good respect for education. The people that I meet in India are impressive and disciplined and intelligent. And I think that India has a bright future. It has to kind of get itself together and operate well. But we have a group in Singapore which is we're devoting significant resources. We're active in India, and I'm optimistic about it. I came back from my trip a few years ago, very impressed, and I look forward to my future with India.
What is your view on China, considering that China One policy is something which is part of the boardroom narratives now? China is no longer, the Chinese economy is no longer expanding the way it was. Is that a challenge that China may not be the big superpower or the big driver now?
Well, I think that China also has a great future. I think that they too have great resources. They are very organized. They have a benign autocratic government which makes decisions and implements them effectively and promptly. It is true that their growth rate is decelerating, but it is still very high relative to the rest of the world. They can produce 6+% GDP growth, and that is very much above average for the world. U.S. is at present less than half that, so now they have some difficult transitions. It's hard to transition from 12% growth to 6%. It's hard to transition from an economy that has been accelerated by very strong availability of financing for fixed investment, which maybe has produced excessive fixed investment, and they have to make financing less available and have less fixed investment take place and transition to a consumption economy. They have to transition from an export-oriented economy to a domestic consumption-oriented economy. So there are a lot of transitions that they have to make, but so far they seem to be making them well. And they did quite well in 2020 compared to much of the rest of the world, and seem to be coming out ahead of much of the world in 2021. Again, we're optimistic on China. Now, I always say that the U.S., for example, is a mature adult, and India and China are adolescents. And I've had adolescents at home, and the world with the adolescent is rather tempestuous and up and down and volatile. But the outlook is very positive for the adolescent. And I think that's true of India, and I think it's true of China. And we're very happy with our activities there, which are substantial.
And since your book always refers to cycle, given that right now interest rates are low, do you think the importance of cycle gets defeated? Because there is no inflation, rates are low. It is quite contrary to the previous cycles we've seen where inflation comes back and inflation comes back and rates go higher.
Yes, well, I'm not convinced that inflation is not coming back. And I'm not convinced that rates aren't going higher. And the people who are sure that you can inject massive amounts of liquidity into an economy and sure that you can run enormous deficits and increase your debts and not have any inflation, I think their confidence is misplaced. I'm not a forecaster.